Welcome back. As mentioned at the top of the show, the FBI has raided the home and office and even a temporary hotel room of President Trump's personal attorney, Michael Cohen. Among the items reportedly seized are documents related to President Trump's alleged affair with porn star Stormy Daniels. And get this, the feds reportedly got the search warrant after receiving a referral from special counsel Bob Mueller. The president responding forcefully earlier today.
I just heard that they broke into the office of one of my personal attorneys, good man, and it's a disgraceful situation. It's a total witch hunt. We're talking about a lot of serious things with the greatest fighting force ever, and I have this witch hunt constantly going on for over 12 months now. And actually much more than that. You could say it was right after I won the nomination it started. This is the most biased group of people. These people have the biggest conflicts of interest I've ever seen.
And back to my question at the top. Is this a major overreach or a strong sign that Trump's attorney is in serious legal jeopardy? A whole lot to unpack here, so let's bring in former Deputy Independent Counsel during the Bill Clinton Whitewater investigation, Saul Weisenberg, Harmeet Dillon, an attorney and RNC committeewoman for California, and former Secret Service officer, NRA TV contributor, Dan Bongino. We have so much news to get to, guys. Let's start with you, Saul. To raid an attorney's office, home, and temporary hotel room. Talk about the threshold you have to clear in order to justify that type of raid.
This is an extraordinarily aggressive prosecution move. This is controlled by the U.S. Attorney's Manual, Laura. You're only supposed to do it if less intrusive means like a subpoena are not available or won't work. You have to go to not only the U.S. Attorney in your district, that would be New York City, but you have to consult with the criminal division. Then there are all kinds of rules you have to follow having to do with review of the material. I can tell you this is very unusual, and it's even more unusual, to my understanding from the reports, where they specifically were looking for some communications between President Trump and his attorney. That makes it even rarer. And to do it when the attorney is the attorney for the President of the United States is quite amazing. Now, it's too early for us to tell, whether it's right or wrong or valid, but I can tell you it is outstandingly aggressive.
Dan, the president was just on fire about this today. I mean, I don't think I've seen him that mad publicly for what he said was a witch hunt, a disgrace. He repeated his frustration with Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General. Your take on this?
Well, Laura, you opened up the show and asked, is Michael Cohen in legal jeopardy? Let me answer you, Laura. We'd all be in legal jeopardy if Bob Mueller was after us. Mother Teresa would be in legal jeopardy if Bob Mueller was after us. Because the federal criminal code, we're all federal criminals. I promise someone paid a penny less in taxes at some point in their life and is a federal criminal, no matter how good you are. This is a scam. This case is a complete total witch hunt. Laura, just think about the double standard here, right? Let me just frame this up for you. They raided Donald Trump's actual attorney, his personal attorney's office, to go and get evidence. Yet when Hillary Clinton was interviewed, her staffer, who went to law school but wasn't her attorney, sat in as her attorney so they could wink and nod at each other. She was also a potential co-conspirator, Cheryl Mills, and they were allowed to keep evidence from the FBI, the computers, after they looked at them. If that's not a double standard, justice isn't blind. It's dead now, and it's really sad what's happening.
Harmeet, we were trying to look for instances in which maybe lawyers for the mob or had their offices raided. I mean, it is, as Saul said, and Dan's expressing this frustration, unreal to have the feds go in and seize a whole bunch of documents with apparently a clean team, who has to separate the privileged material out. But boy, talk about chilling a relationship between a client and his or her lawyer if this is what the feds need to do to get the goods on someone. Your reaction as a practicing civil rights attorney.
Laura, this is outrageous and unprecedented. I've said it on your show before, but conservatives haven't paid enough attention to the rights guaranteed by the Fourth Amendment and the Constitution. And to seize any attorney's communications with his client are outrageous. And I can tell you, as a lawyer who handles trade secret cases sometimes, you go to the U.S. Attorney's Office, you go to the FBI, you report it. It's hard to get their attention. They certainly don't act as quickly as this. And so they're giving extraordinary attention to this. And the timing of this is not accidental, as the other guests have mentioned. I think that the fact that the IG's report is coming out soon at the FBI, that may guarantee some heavy scrutiny and potentially some prosecutions over there. Maybe this team wants to distract away from that. But the other thing is the president is exposed right now because he's missing one of his lawyers, and he's been looking to hire a new counsel. Who wants to be the lawyer who has their life disrupted because they happen to represent a client, and whether it's the president or not, who's in the crosshairs of the FBI? So this is a chilling effect. And this is the same field office of the FBI and the same U.S. Attorney's Office that didn't lift a finger and didn't do a thing on the Clinton Foundation with almost $1 billion plus of foreign money pouring through there. The double standard is staggering. And this is potentially a constitutional crisis being set up here. It is unprecedented. Never seen anything like it.
I've never seen anything like it. Look, I've been around here for a long time. I was a practicing white-collar criminal defense attorney, Saul. And the president today, I mean, I've known him for quite some time. I want to play a soundbite from what he said. Cameras rolled in. Let's watch.
The Attorney General made a terrible mistake when he did this and when he recused himself, or he should have certainly let us know if he was going to recuse himself, and we would have put a different Attorney General in. So he made what I consider to be a very terrible mistake for the country. And yet the other side, they don't even bother looking. And the other side is where there are crimes, and those crimes are obvious.
Again, talking about the double standard, Saul, he seems to be, reportedly, more angry at Sessions and Rod Rosenstein than he is at Mueller. I mean, Mueller's a special counsel trying to find crimes or evidence of crimes, pushing the envelope. But he will not let go of this Jeff Sessions, both appointing Rosenstein, I think, and then recusing himself from this whole matter.
Well, I don't think those comments make much sense. Remember, what Mueller did here, and I agree it's extraordinarily aggressive. We don't know that it's outrageous or not. And what Mueller did here, according to these reports, he did was to go to Rosenstein and say, we have found something here. Who do you want to handle it? And Rosenstein said, you're not going to handle it. I'm going to give it to the office with jurisdiction. So I don't think there's any indication that Mueller did anything improper, unless you think if he stumbles across something that looks like a crime, he should just forget about it and not tell anybody about it. So it's very aggressive, yes. It's not totally unprecedented. It's extremely aggressive. We don't know if it's outrageous yet. Laura, you know, they had to go to a judge, and they had to say to a judge.
We don't know what judge, do we? Do we know what judge signed off on this warrant?
They had to go to a magistrate, and they had to say not only is this probable cause of a crime, and by the way, there's no Fourth Amendment violation here, and there are no special rules for attorneys under the Fourth Amendment, but they had this almost certainly would have had to have said, crime fraud exception applies, or they wouldn't have been able to explicitly look at communications between Mike Cohen and President Trump. So they'll be judged. If they ended up lying in an affidavit to a federal magistrate, they know this is a very serious,
what is the
thing.
recourse for President Trump? If he overstepped the line, and this was Harmeet was getting to, I think, if he overstepped the line on this, and again, maybe they had probable cause, I guess, to believe that Michael Cohen was shredding documents, so they had to go, the subpoena wasn't going to work, so they had to go do the raid. I don't know. But there is no recourse here in the political context. I think that's the point. That's what makes this case even more difficult.
Well, there's even less recourse now because it's being conducted not by Mueller, who he can fire, but by the Southern District of New York, his own presumptive appointee in there. So it's even harder for him to do anything about it now.
All right, this 10 seconds each. Harmeet and Dan. Dan first, then Harmeet.
Saul, I love your commentary. You're always lucid on these topics, but I think you're wrong. We're arguing process here. This is about principle. They are not targeting a crime here. They are targeting Trump. This was started to investigate Russian collusion that never happened. Everyone on this panel would be a criminal if they were targeting you instead of a crime.
Harmeet.
I pay my taxes.
I was going to say, Well, I think the president made a mistake early on with the appointments that he made. I'm afraid that he needs to look a little closer to home. He's had a lot of bad advice from the beginning of his administration on legal issues and on his legal appointments, and I think this whole situation is an example of that.
Yeah, where's Chris Christie when you need him? And directly ahead, thanks, guys.